Hi everyone, my name is Grey. Welcome back to a Fashion Friday series. Today I wanted to tackle the other side of the fashion challenges that the industry is facing. In the last episode I talked about the social challenges, and today I wanted to talk about the environmental challenges that the fashion industry is facing. If that's a topic you're interested in, stay tuned. So most of the topics that we're going to talk about today center on issues of air pollution, water waste, waste management and such. So the first issue I'll talk about is water, because water is life and you need water to stay alive, and especially clean sources of water. Now in fashion we need so much water just to be able to produce fabric, and it takes gallons. So for instance, take cotton. Cotton is one of the most water intensive crops to produce. A pair of jeans will take up to 10,000 liters of water to produce. So our use of water in the fashion industry is quite intensive, and we rank really high in terms of just how much water consumption is necessary for especially some of the treatments we engage in, which I'll touch on as we go on, when we're trying to produce fabric and when you're trying to produce material to use in the fashion, in the making of garments within the industry. The other issue is water pollution, under which we've got so many subheadings. Pesticides is another of the issues that we deal with within the fashion industry. Most of the fabric that's grown, for instance, let's take cotton, some of the materials we use require such a large amount of pesticides and fertilizers in order to increase the output per acre, and this really does take a toll on the land. It takes a toll also on the quality of the fabric that's produced, and it releases all these emissions, gas emissions into the air, which is not healthy for the people that are planting them, but it's also not healthy for the environment, and it's not healthy for the soil. And then we have the dyeing process when we're trying to color this fabric and we're trying to create patterns in it. We use quite a bit of dye to try and manipulate the fabric to whatever we need it to be, and all these dyes are normally really heavy in terms of the number of chemicals within them, the number of chemicals that we use to dye our fabric so that we can alter its appearance or alter its consistency. It's really quite a lot. And what's worse is that this very water that we use ends right back into our water systems untreated. Take polyester for instance, it requires quite a bit of toxic solvents in order to produce it, and all this ends back into the soil. Issues regarding the overuse of pesticides and dyes ends up contributing to the pollution of our groundwater and air, as well as the reduction of soil fertility, because the chemicals used in these processes end up right back into our freshwater systems. So of course the larger issue of that is the water pollution. Another end product is the materials that are currently being produced. They are getting worse and worse. For instance, the production of genetically modified cotton. We've got polyester, that's a man-made fabric with microplastics, and now polyester is used 4 times more than cotton in the fashion industry. And the manufacture of this fabric, or even just the remnants of these microplastic fibers, they end right back into our oceans, into our food systems, into our water systems. So we're using worse and worse materials. We're using more harmful ways of producing them, and there's barely any accountability in terms of how we do it, and that is really taking a toll. Another major issue is the air pollution. A majority of our clothes are made in countries that still depend on coal as their main source of fuel, which as we now know is one of the dirtiest sources of energy. To make matters worse, the production does not happen in just one factory, and in many cases it's not happening in the same country. The cutting could be done here, the stitching together could be done here, the assembling could be done here, and then it has to cross multiple oceans to get back to the end user. All this leads to unnecessary transportation, it leads to air pollution, it leads to increase in fuel prices. It actually has quite a lot of effects. If you look deeper, you actually find that a country such as China barely has a clear day, just because a majority of the production happens there, and they're very much exposed to the effects of whatever is going on. So the fashion industry has proved to be a major environmental disruptor. According to the OECD, which stands for the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, they've actually released a report that shows that 4 of the 5 most affected countries when it comes to sea levels rising are actually the biggest fashion manufacturers in the world, and that would be China, Vietnam, India, and Bangladesh. So it's really hard to disassociate. I mean, I know cause is not necessarily effect, but there could also be a causal link. You cannot deny the plausibility of a causal link between what is happening versus what is going on, what the data shows versus the actual effects that are happening on ground zero. Because as we know, fashion is currently responsible for 10% of our world's carbon footprint, so we clearly have a very long way to go in contributing to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. Fashion has evolved into a linear model when it comes to raw materials, which we commonly refer to as take, make, waste. But that is definitely going to have to change if the industry is going to become sustainable in any way, and if it's going to actually contribute to the well-being of the population at large. So that concludes this video about some of the fashion ills that sustainable fashion is trying to remedy within the industry, and I hope that you have a better understanding about some of the issues that we're grappling with, or even some of the issues to look for when you're going out to shop for your clothes. I will keep making more videos just because I realize that information is actually what is lacking. In all the bad purchasing decisions I've made, it's because I haven't had the information or actually the consciousness of what exactly is going on. So I'll keep making videos just to play my little part in awakening consciousness and turning us all into conscious shoppers as well as conscientious shoppers. And I'll see you in my next Fashion Friday videos. Thank you so very much for watching. Bye.